We're gonna forego all formalities, just go straight to roll call and then begin with the presentations.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
Present.
Vice Mayor Juan Castillo,
Present.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan,
Present.
Councilmember Luis Galindo, Councilmember Miguel Villalpando, Councilmember Marta Gonzalez, Councilmember Lorena Delgadillo.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. James Jones, Parks and Rec Director. I come to you today with your request upon the museum project and West Somerton Park Community Center. The first thing we're going to go over is the museum project. We're also going to touch on Title 34, request for qualifications and request for proposals. I have met with legal today, so she'll be jumping in every now and then and giving you some extra information and feedback. I first want to go over what the site looks like now. I think it's important that you guys see that in pictures, in form, and understand that where the site is right now to where we want to bring it to, it's night and day difference. So we will need to go in there and look at the building, the structural building, the ADA, everything to make sure that it's fit for our residents and the project as a whole. And right now, all I'm talking about is the existing buildings. I'm not talking about the big parcel of space. Like I said, it's 16,590 square foot of open space there, not including the building. When I want to point out that when I wrote the RFQ for this, I just gave them that plot and showed them the two existing buildings and the open space. At that point, we were not asking for any proposals, any design proposals. It was a qualification to just look for the best firm, which is when I'm coming here. I also had 4 meetings with the Historical Society. In the first meeting, we reviewed the project and the overall goals of the project. The second meeting, we reviewed the area and the building conditions, as you just saw. The third meeting, we figured out the themes from the museum, because it's important that we put something in the RFQ of kind of what little areas we need. Do we need 8? Do we need 10 for displays? And then the fourth meeting went over the scope of work or for the request for qualifications based off the budget of $20,000. I do want to point out that when these when these companies submitted their request for qualifications, they did not get a set amount for the budget total. So when they proposed their qualifications, it was just based off the work that they've done and their ideas. And during each of those meetings, and our city manager was in it, they said, well, you didn't provide us a lot of detail. You didn't provide us what we know. So the first thing we would need to know is have a meeting with you and know what you want in your museum. The timeline right there is what they proposed. I want to point out that that's for full design, not for the $20,000 budget. For $20,000 budget, you're not going to get that full design quality. You're going to get partial of that. Next meeting, the request for qualifications. We wanted to review this with you. Request for qualifications focusing on experience, credentials, technical experience, not price. Used for professional services like architect, engineering, and this is required under Arizona Revised Statutes Title 34. Firms are ranked based on qualifications. As have they done a museum before? Have they worked with small budgets? Have they worked with small municipalities? Have they worked with communities like our size? It also includes interviews and scoring committees. That was myself, our city manager, and our parks and facilities manager. The RFP, the request for proposals, evaluates both approach and cost as part of the proposal. So you really look at the cost. What is the whole design cost? What is the construction cost? It's used for services or projects where the scopes and deliverables are clearly defined. I didn't give clear define. I just wanted to see what their proposals were, what they've done, what is best for our city. And then the selection is based off best value, which is a combination of cost and quality. I don't know if you have anything.
So Mayor, Council, Michelle Stinson from the City Attorney's Office. I just want to hit home what James already said, but anything that touches on construction does require that RFQ process under under state law. So that means that our very first solicitation cannot touch on the pricing. So it's only going to be qualification-based review. And once we select a firm based on their qualifications that we put in that solicitation, then we go and negotiate the price. So that is why James is following those processes for anything that is related to construction or architects and engineers specifically.
And at the bottom, you'll see the key difference. RFQ, who's the most qualified, then negotiate the price. So that's a two-part process. The first part is going to council and requesting permission to negotiate the price with the company. The second is coming back with the price or the scope of work that they're going to perform and what they're going to provide with the timeline. And then we know exactly what we're getting for our money or what the budget allows, what we're getting for it. An RFP is who has the best plan and price combined. You know the flat out price minus if there's any change orders. I don't know if he has any questions on this slide. Okay, the next thing I really want to touch about is the Title 34 and the request qualifications. Title 34 falls under Arizona Revised Statute. It's triggered on more than just new construction. A common misconception is that Title 34 only applies to new buildings or new construction. It does not. It is triggered when a project involves structural modifications, walls, roofs, foundations, ADA, things like that. Changes to the building layout or occupancy use. What we were using before, now we're changing it and it's going to be more used. Does it fit that qualifications? Electrical, plumbing, or HVAC design, ADA compliance or upgrades that affect construction and public safety measures, fire, egress, accessibility. And I want to point out that a museum conversion rehab almost fits all these areas.
Well, I was just going to read the actual definition of construction out of the statute because I think it really hits home what James is saying. So under Title 34, the definition of construction is the process of building, altering, repairing, improving, or demolishing any public structure or building or other public improvements of any kind to any public real property. So that's a lot of any, and it is a very broad definition. It does not, as James said, include routine operation, routine repair, or routine maintenance of existing facilities.
Any questions? Okay, this is what the city, so a city staff cannot replace a licensed design professional. Even though your facility and park team we're capable of, and we can go out and do our best duties to do that and give you guys what you direct us to do. We have to go with a registered architect and engineer because they prepare the stamp plans, they ensure code compliance, and they take legal responsibility. So as a city staff, we cannot stamp construction documents. We cannot assume liability for structural and code design. And without stamp plans, the city cannot legally bid or construct the project. So it's really important that we cover our due basis with this and make sure that, you know, we had that meeting last week about ADA, that the ADA requirements are met in the construction plans. I don't know if he has any questions on this slide before we move forward. Okay. Liability and risk exposure. The city tried to rehab in-house without Title 34. The city would assume full response or full liability for structural failures, ADA violations, life safety issues. Insurance and auditors would flag the project. It could invalidate permits, future grant funding, and Title 34 protects the city by placing design responsibilities on a licensed professional. The next, procurement law still applies to work itself. Even if staff could do portions of the work, construction over certain thresholds still requires formal bidding process and competitive procurement. We can't just go, okay, we're going to go out and do this. If it's over those thresholds, we still have to come back to you and get approval, and then plans and specifications must exist, which agree with 34 compliance, I think.
The only thing that I will add is that, of course, that is the rule, and then there are exceptions. And so our office would work with staff to evaluate whether any exceptions to these rules apply and make sure that you guys are fully informed with, you know, if there's possibly different procurement methods or something like that. So sometimes, depending on the cost of the construction, for example, I believe this year, if it's less than $28,000 or 28,000 and some change, then you could direct select your construction, but that is a pretty low threshold. There's also a couple of exceptions depending on the type of work that is being done, so.
Any questions? Change of use, higher standards, turning a building into a museum, public assembly space increases the requirements. Occupancy classification changes, ADA accessibility upgrades will need to be done. Fire and life safety requirements are increased. Structural load considerations must change, and they are not maintenance, they are regulated by design changes. So that's kind of, and then the last one is what can be done in-house. So there is things that Title 34 doesn't make all buildings off limits to us. It still can be handled this way: routine maintenance, painting, minor repairs, non-structural cosmetic work, basic landscaping and site cleanup. But once a project becomes design construction of a facility, it must follow Title 34. And then I do want to come back, now that we've covered this, back to the original 4 things that the committee discussed was site analysis and conceptual layout plan. What we're talking about there is, can we use the buildings? Are they in good maintenance condition? And then conceptual layout plans, that could be a 1D, that could, it depends on that $20,000 that we use. That could be just a drawing where how we would use those spaces, not extra work, not the Taj Mahal, as Mayor once said. It's just the spaces that are there. What can we use? What can we design in those spaces? Preliminary cost, how much would it cost to bring it up to code, bring it up to compliance, address the ADA, address all the other issues, phasing in implementation strategy. If we want to expand it in 10 years, 20 years, how would that look? If we just want to do it now, how would that look? And then presentation materials, which is PDF and 3D visuals, in case we want to do a public-private partnership with a group, or we want to go out to funding. We have those materials that we can go out there and show them and look for more funding. But I don't know if you guys have any questions, but I do want to point out that when you go back and you think about that 28,000 or 20,000 and you look at the current state of the building, I don't know if 20,000 would bring that up to code. I'm also not sure if the building is, or if the building in the jail structure is structurally safe enough to just start working on. We need to, and that's where that comes back to site analysis. Can we bring this up to code? Can we get what we want accomplished out of this? And at this point, staff is just looking for your direction on this project, or we can answer any questions or anything that you want to move forward with.
Any questions or comments?
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members, I think we just want to make sure that we've had different discussions, and making sure on the different projects that we have is making sure that that's the idea that we're sharing with mayor and council, and everybody's on the same page when it comes to these projects. What we've heard is trying to stay within the 2 structures. Again, we just want to get that feedback from all of you, making sure that's what we're looking at. So when we do come back to see if we want to, if council approves the different engineer, or the companies that we are promoting, or at least selecting, that we're all on the same page of the scope of work that we're looking at. And again, it's not about what they present, it's about what you want to see and what you'd like to see, and then they take those ideas and bring them back to you.
Any questions or comments? Yeah.
So James, in a nutshell, the $20,000 that we approved or we talked about, and now that you're presenting today, sum it up. The $20,000 is just for the conceptual design again, right? And those $20,000 will cover to tell us how much it's going to be, basically?
So if I'm answering, to understand your question, I think what we'll get, because you're asking what we'll get out of the $20,000.
Yes.
I think number 1, site analysis and conceptual plan layout, that 1D plan, the map of here's the buildings. First off, can we use the buildings? Are the buildings able to be used? We need to know that right away.
Okay.
If they're able to be used, then that's where the conceptual design comes in, the 1D, maybe 2D, maybe some 3D visual will come out of that. There's a lot of upfront work that kind of these companies put in when they did their qualifications that we can piggyback off from, not the whole thing, but those 2 buildings we can focus on. That's basically what I think we'll get, and the cost of just bringing those up to the museum. I think that's what the $20,000 will provide us, and that might be it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And I think with the presentation of when we heard this item last meeting, it was just the scope was for full design and but you know, at least we're realistic and we'll know what to expect. At least want to be realistic about it. You know, as we saw when we toured all the city facilities, there's a lot of needs. So this probably going to give us just the tools to understand how much is going to be. And with the other facilities, I hope that we have those type of analysis to, so when we budget that we know how much it's going to cost. But at least you know, if those 20,000 is going to get us that, at least on my end, I would be fine, because it's going to give us a realistic account of how much we're going to spend. And then we saw the facilities needs. We need to get everything and make decisions, prioritize. But at least this is the type of information that we need to make an informed decision.
Mayor, I believe LEA is on the line. They can kind of tell you what they think they can give you out of that 20. I know it's not we're not making a decision tonight, but it's an informational piece that if they're on, that they could provide you. I'm not sure if Lance is on. Maybe not.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is Lance Inyart with LEA Architects. And I am on and could answer any questions that you might have.
Lance, I think the big thing is with that $20,000 budget, they're wondering, what do you think we could accomplish out of these 4 items?
Yeah, I think it's really, as you described, looking at what the desires for the facility want to be, meeting with the user group, whoever that might be, the various stakeholders, to define the vision. We have a basic understanding of that based on what you presented us in the RFQ. And as you pointed out, have taken some of that at your request and developed some preliminary ideas. You know, whether those bear fruit or have merit, we don't know, because we haven't had the opportunity to interface with anyone so far, because we haven't been able to generate a proposal. But you know, our understanding of the scope is just as you described, taking a general assessment and look at what the existing buildings are, you know, what their potential is for reuse or not, thinking about the near-term needs of what the museum might want to entail. What are the different artifacts that it wants to house in the near term, and also in the long term? The site that was defined has a broader potential, we think, beyond just those 2 buildings. There's a really strong connection or potential connection to the park there. As you're rethinking the public works component and the yard, there's space to the north that could become future development or become future uses tied to this museum or tied to this public space. So, you know, we see a lot of potential there, but what we're most excited about is hearing what you see and what you think and what the stakeholders think and would see there, and how we might be able to turn some of those initial precepts and ideas and wants into a broader concept design, and understanding that concept design, you may not have funding for it up front, or you may only have funding for a smaller piece. But that's not to say you should just be thinking about only that smaller piece. How can we think of the broader vision, and how this site could ultimately serve the citizens of Somerton in the long term, and be thinking about phasing and future uses. So I guess all that to say the budget is modest, but we've been working in your community for nearly 30 years and feel passionate about this project. We're proud of having been selected to work with you on this project. And, you know, we'll work with you to develop a concept out and define what the costs for that concept might be and how you could phase it to achieve different levels of that concept over time. So I guess I think one of the council members asked for it in a nutshell. That's maybe a couple nuts. I don't know, 2 or 3, but that's generally how we see the scope of work from our end, and hopefully it's aligned with your vision.
Other questions or comments?
No, I mean, I think at least for me, I mean, at our last meeting, I kind of, I think this is the first step in kind of planning out on what we want in the future, you know? So, I mean, I was fine with it, and I think it puts us in a good spot where we can also have our consultants advocate for funding. So, I mean, I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, I was good with it last time.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
I'll move on to the next. Okay, this one's about the West Somerton Master Plan, community shelter, community center and shelter design, RFQ. I do want to go back to the video that you have been shown. This is the master plan video of the park. We use this as the footprint and kind of the overall scope of putting the community center plan together. How much space is there? It's up to 3,200 square foot building. So we gave them the range of the space. Now, do we have to build it all at once? No. It could be a phased event. It could be what we need now to what we need in the future. I do want to state that when you walk through our community center shelter now, we do not have a kitchen. We do not have ice machine. We do not have our cots and other materials stored there. We are lacking storage there. So this project is, you know, the shelter side of it, I feel is the most important part of it. I know you guys have seen this video multiple times. I guess I'll let it play all the way through because you guys are the ones that put this together. You gave the direction to J2 and Last Architects to put this plan together. This is your guys' master plan idea. I'm just here to try to help you accomplish it. So I do want to point out that at this point, the pond is 100% designed and was presented to council, and we're going through the process of looking for funding methods for it. Can I move on?
It's an aquifer recharge
Aquifer
project.
recharge. Yep.
Project. Please.
I'm glad you got that down because I still don't clearly. Now, here's the project background. As you see, I put it. This is from the original. All these pictures, yeah, there's numbers on them and things like that. Ignore the numbers. I pulled these from the original master plan that was presented to you. So located within the West Somerton Community Park, identified as a key component of the master plan and 10-year master plan and the 10-year master plan for Parks and Rec. Planned as a multi-purpose community center, emergency shelter, and supports long-term growth infrastructure needs. Community needs, we don't have a large-scale indoor recreation facility currently available. Ours is modest and it works for us, but as our population grows, we're running out of space for extra programs and extra spaces. We have community members that come to us with ideas and proposals. We don't have space for them right now. So we have to juggle around with our recreation department to make sure that we can give the residents everything that they want and provide that customer service. We do have limited space for athletics and leagues, indoor, community programs and events, educational and possible need for senior services in the future. As we talked about, we're outgrowing the senior center. So we really want to just look at this building and say, how can we phase this stuff into the future? Not build it all at once, but just phase it. Increasing demand year-round indoor programming. It is hot. It's Arizona. People do want to go inside. Emergency preparedness needs, as I said, we have a lack of emergency shelter. We have one that we use as emergency shelter, but we don't have a kitchen in there. We don't have an ice machine. We don't have cots. We don't have the things that we need that make an actual shelter. We would have to go get that stuff from other areas of the town. So this is a really big need. I also want to point out that impact fees will support up to 10,000 square foot of a facility like this. And that could be designed, that could be up. So there is that funding source in there. Like I said, extreme weather response, community safety operations, temporary shelter surfaces, and design fits and meets modern safety and ADA standards. That's always going to be important to us. And then this is what as you notice the picture in there, that's a picture from when you guys really were starting to plan this community park. So I wanted to throw that in there. I provided them this. This is modeled after a facility in Florida. It's just it's a framework. I had to provide them something. How much space, how much square footage, just so they can kind of get moving. They understood that I asked for this to be something that could be multi-use, flexible public use, designed for a recreational program, community events, daily use for the public, emergency shelter operations, ADA, energy efficient and long-term durability. I do want to point out that the other part of this was, how do we phase this? How do we build one part, build the next part, build the next part? In no way did I say this was the final design. And I'll get to why but there's a why to that, but I want to show you the timeline before, and then you'll see the why. This was a preliminary sketch given to us. If you notice, it's phased, and it shows 27,000 to 32,000 square multi-use facility. It's got a full gym and a half gym, so you can have basketball and volleyball going on at the same time. Has a kitchen and a lounge. That's for that shelter component. It's got locker rooms. That's the shelter component, and just recreation component, and multi-purpose gathering areas. It's also got the classroom space, or the spaces in there that we could host more recreational activities, an art class, a band class, dance class, things like that, and have multiple things going on rather than one at a time. Because right now, the cultural center will be used. An hour later, somebody else will come in there. We don't have multiple classes going on. So like I said, though, they did their best at phasing it, and you can kind of see the area. Now, like I said, this isn't the main design. This is just go out there and get some proposals for the RFQ. There's a long way to go from an RFQ to the full design, and you'll see that. The purpose of the project is expand recreational services, provide centralized community facility, improve quality of life for residents, support future growth, establish emergency infrastructure. As you see, all this stuff is important. Now the timeline, I want you to pay attention to the timeline. Like I said, design service, RFQ, this falls under Title 34, so you need to do it this way. But if you look at the timeline, it starts off with a kickoff meeting, then it goes to programming workshop. Those are where the firm that we hire comes in and meets with the public, meets with you guys, and really the outline I gave them, that 3,200 square foot outlining, that gets redone during that phase. That's where they come and get your input. What do you want to come first? What do you want to come second? When do you think we need to, expand the center? What population levels do we need? Those are things that you guys that will be in those discussion. Conceptual design worked out, all that stuff for the first, so we're behind, but the first 4 or 5 months is just coming to get input on the design from residents, staff, and of course, council. And then if you notice, this whole project takes about 13 to 14 months. So it's not done. It's not even been discussed. It's just going out for proposals. And then this is what they would do to get your feedback and kind of make the community center what Somerton wants, what Somerton needs, not just a random picture that I threw on a paper. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Any questions or comments? I think for me, my concern is we go into the design phase for this. Do we have a plan how we would pay for it? That's like, we used to have one with the ARPA funds that we were going to use it for them, but we reallocated those funds. So my question would be, is it something that council still wants to prioritize now that we don't have any funds, and I don't know, I see this as something that we put it out for the community, but how are we gonna pay? So if we invest all this money in design, then before we used to have funds identified for it, but now the only way that we'll probably be able to build this would be bonding, or if we get a grant, write a good grant, we can justify the need for a shelter with the heat but I don't know, that at least for me, that's my concern as far as designing, unless we have a clear plan how we're gonna move forward to it. Are we gonna go for grants? How realistic is that? Or any, is there appetite from council to go into a bond to the community for a vote and see if they would be in favor of this? But at least for me, moving forward without identifying a funding source, it's something that at least gives me pause for it. So I don't know what council.
I'm gonna look at Shona. How are we gonna make it happen, Shona?
We want the pool, Shona. We want the pool.
Shona Vidal, Finance Director, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. So this part of this planning is to identify those funding sources. If we do not have this planning, we cannot go out for grants. We cannot even go out for bonds. We have to have some type of plan. So when we talk shovel ready, I know that you guys have heard this a lot this past year, shovel ready. This gets us started for shovel ready. Yes, it is a big commitment as far as general fund is concerned to go out for this design. But if we don't have this, we can't move forward to allocate or even try to go out for funding due to the fact of we don't have a shovel ready plan. So that's kind of our mechanism and moving forward is to try to get some of the general funds to pay for some of these designs so that we can have them to submit. We have a plan for that submittal. And who knows? I mean, we can get grant fundings, appropriation fundings, all of that. All of you sat in the Nexus presentation. And that was the whole key point of it is you have to have something shovel ready before we can even try to move forward and trying to identify funding. Now, as far as prioritizing, yes, definitely. If 250,000 right now is not the priority to use on a design, just know that we'll allocate it somewhere else, but eventually we are going to have to get some type of funding to get a design in order to go out for funding. So it's just moving it along. If this is not priority, then it'll just move it along to the next fiscal year and see what we can do, see if that's your priority at that time. If not, we can move it out 5 years. It's all up to you and your direction.
I do want to be transparent with the $250,000. We're looking at probably 30% to 35% complete with that $250,000. We're not looking at 70 or 80 or 90 where we need to be to start applying the grant cycle. We're looking at 30 to 35% design complete. We'd still have to put some more phases in to get the design work completed.
Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to also be clear. Our aquifer recharge system. The council approved the design for that, and that was
Just under 4 million. Yeah.
400,000.
400,000. Sorry.
So that was what we needed to go to appropriations or look for funding to be able to get hopefully or possibly $4 million and that type of thing. So, but again, I think what staff is saying is we're going to be working on a 5-year plan, and Deputy City Manager and myself, and we're working with the department directors to bring that to you. So like you mentioned, Mayor, to get your priorities. And maybe we can look at that and you can come back and give us the direction of that plan. But yeah, it is. I mean, those are going to be the bigger commitments up front. We have asked Nexus and looking at design, I guess, funding, but that seems to be a challenge. A lot of them want it ready,
A lot of them want commitment as far as the other side. So going to what you had said, Mayor, as far as a plan, if you're going into design, what is your plan to move forward this design? That's where that funding mechanism comes in is, so we should have a plan from start to finish. Again, going back to shovel ready. Like if we're going out for design for the 250,000 or $1 million, whatever it may be, to get a grant to just design it, we need to tell them how we're going to move it forward.
And Mayor, if I may, currently, we have two projects that are being considered for appropriations. And those were 100% shovel ready. One of them is a 10-year-old project that we're hoping that there'll be funding. But what helped in getting that to, I guess, the second phase of what we're trying to do was that there was a commitment from the city, and there had been already, the design was fully completed. And again, the city invested in that, but also even in some properties so that design would get, and that weighed a lot, at least when we were talking to the different, I guess, congressional representatives and their team. They mentioned that's good. That's what we want to see, because the more that we can put weight on what our requests are that the city's committing to, I think that's what they're looking for. At least that's what that's what they're telling us. So, but again, wish we had the funding for all of these, but that's going to be something that we look for Mayor and Council on the priority list.
I feel this is just a piece of the puzzle. We, saw that they just opened bids for Main Street redevelopment. So that's also something that we need to look at as far as funding and prioritizing. And so,
yeah, Mayor, and also, if I may, we have another project also with wastewater, a connection to, working, partnering with the county. So there's a lot of things going on, and there's a commitment from the city and some of those. So I think that's something to be considered also, because it is, I think, a great commitment and a great opportunity for the city. But again, at the same time, I think we're going to have to, Mayor and Council will have to prioritize and see how we want to handle that.
At least for me, it gives me pause committing eventually $500,000 for a design that we need to talk to, our grants people and see how realistic it's to get a grant. And if not, then is the council how we're gonna fund it? It's gonna cost millions of dollars. So is it something that we want to move forward and commit to it and work towards it? But just having it $500,000 without really having a commitment from council or from realistic sources and spending $500,000 on like that. Yes.
I agree. I don't think we're ready for that commitment right now, especially since we have other priorities. James mentioned it'll be only 35%. So to me, it's I would rather wait and continue with other priorities.
I see Shona light up.
And I think I agree with Councilwoman Gonzalez, and it goes back to the comment that I made in previous meetings when we saw the conceptual design for the new wastewater. It was just put away. how much money did council at that time or the city spent to make that conceptual design, you know, and it was put away. That was back in 2015, I think, Rosa told us, and I think we need to look at our priorities right now. There's a lot, you know, and I think it's for the well-being of our employees and for these other commitments and the priorities that we have that are coming up to our plate. It's beautiful. I mean, I see this video and it's beautiful, but is, as the mayor said, is it realistic right now? No. $500,000. If it's going to cost us $500,000, I'm sure Jonah needs those $500,000 to spend to redo another, you know, something at the wastewater or over here at the public works department or your department. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't see it. Now I know.
Wow. You know what? And I mean, I understand the perspectives. I really do. But I also see, you know, this is the vision that we have, you know, for the future, you know, the aqua, what is it?
Recharge.
The aqua recharge. So, I mean, I understand the perspective that, and I know it's a lot of money, you know, but at the same time, I feel that, I mean, eventually we're going to end up spending it, because that, I mean, that is that is what we want. That is the design we want, you know, for the future. We might not get it right away as quickly as we would want, but I'm thinking right now, if this is gonna cost us right now, I'm pretty sure in a couple more years, the price is gonna be, we're gonna pay up more. And I think we're always gonna have priorities. Something's always gonna, especially with the limited resources that we have. And, you know, and I'm thinking right now, we do have a consultant that we're, you know, that they're assisting us in trying to get funds. And I think that the quicker and sooner we get most of these projects kind of like shovel ready, it's kind of like, at least it gives us an opportunity where we might be able to fund those projects. Because if we wait for us as a city, probably my great grandkids are going to be the ones seeing it come to fruition. So I mean, I understand it's a lot of money, but I kind of do see, we don't pay it now. I mean, we're going to pay maybe double later, and it's going to take even longer. And I really think right now it's important for us to put all those projects shovel ready per se, so that the consultants that we do have right now can help us with the funding. And I know we have 2 projects that were funded, right? That we're hoping, but I mean, we're much closer than where we were last year. You know, we're I mean, we're really close. So you know, I know it's a lot of money, but I mean, you know, that aqua recharge, I mean, look, it looks great, you know, and it's something that we're going to need in the future. And yeah, I mean, I know it's a lot of money. We don't want to spend it, and we have a lot of priorities too, but you know, at least that's my thinking on it, you know. And again, I mean, I understand the perspective. It's a lot. I mean, we might not have the funding source on how it's going to be, but this is why we also hire those consultants where they can help us out. And if we don't move in that direction, they're really not going to be able to help us in that area. So, but I know it's a lot of money. So.
I think after, you know, going to DC and meeting with Nexus and different congressional people out there, you know, they're funding projects that are shovel ready. So I guess, you know, we're on the balance, what's priorities. I mean, I understand that, you know, tough times, realistically, we need the money when, you know, other priorities within the city. But at the same time, I think with Councilman Castillo, or Vice Mayor Castillo, that in order for us to get to what we're supposed to be or what we want to be, or, you know, we also need to invest and see the investment from the city, so they can also, you know, give us or help us with the money so we can finish the projects that we need to do. I guess as a council, we have to, you know, where we want to be, you know, where the vision is, or what's, you know, like Vice Mayor said, you know, the more we wait, yeah, the more expensive. But at the same time, we have to be realistic, understand that, you know what, maybe this is not the year, maybe next year, or so forth. You know, hopefully units come in, a grocery store or whatever it needs to be, so we can get more funding. But I think after being there and meeting with the lobbyists, you open your eyes that, when you have projects that are shovel ready, you get more opportunities to get funding. So I just.
Like I said, I feel that I guess more conversations with our consultant to see how realistic is it that we would get grant funding. Is this a project that goes well as far as the shelter and how we can, we saw that we have the aquifer, but what they told us is we need additional information, like maybe like for that example, it was like talk to the Bureau of Reclamation. They need more data as far as funding a project of that. So for us, maybe this type of shelter is like we need to identify more sources of information as far as the heat. Phoenix had a big grant as far as planting trees. What type of information did they provide in order to get that type of grant funding? Maybe we need to do more of that research in order for us to be ready for when we're gonna invest $500,000 in the design. How realistic do we feel? Do we feel comfortable with the data that we need to research prior to going out and giving that information? Because when we're talking to the legislators, they're like, well, this is like a pond. So, but so we need to justify it because they also have their constituents that they need to answer to. When they prioritize funding, it's just it's a competitive. So at least for me, that's we have the that's a redevelopment that it's been on the shelf for 8 years. We finally opened bid, so we see like the light at the end of the tunnel that we can probably look at that. And because it takes years, but there we did the same thing. We didn't have funding sources available. Finally, Grijalva, Congressman Grijalva, before he passed, he gave us $1 million for it. So at least we have some, but we did have the shovel ready. So it's, I think just seeing how everything works, just the information that's required and having a realistic approach of what we're gonna, because $500,000 is, especially with the needs that we saw, it's a lot, yeah.
So Mayor, I think if I'm understanding correctly, the direction is we'll look at those projects, look and see what, how that would impact and really what's the potential of completing these projects. Is it a 5-year, 10-year, is it a 20-year project that we can bring back to you? And also we'll be working on that 5-year CIPs so that you can review it and provide us feedback and have that information for you on those projects so that, I know we don't want to have projects or they sit on the shelf for 10 years or 15 years. But eventually there's got to be that first step. And I think that's what we'll work with Mayor and Council on. When do you think you can take that first step and plan it out?
Thank you. Thank you. This is the conversations that we were alluding to in our last meeting that we wanted to have. It's instead of having like bits and pieces, we want to see the whole picture.
So Mayor, if I may, I just want to add that, this will be something we'll be adding just to make sure that on the projects that we're on the same page and that the direction is where it is understood. So.
Yeah, 6:51, meeting's adjourned. Recently, Temporal. ¿Para cuándo es?
He said